This conversation is taking place at the old State House in Dover.
We're talking with Colin O'Mara, Secretary of the Department of Natural Resources and Environmental Control. You had one of the largest and far-ranging departments in state government, everything from parks to regulating heavy industry. Is the department just too big?
No, I don't think so. Delaware is one of the few states that actually has all environmental programs in one department. A lot of other states will have a portion in a natural resources shop, have your parks and fish and wildlife areas, things like that. And then your regulatory programs, more of the EPA type functions in a different agency. By having them combined, we actually have much greater synergy, and we can make sure that we're taking a holistic look at the lands and the air and the water in our state in a way that other states can't. And so I think we can make much more progress. That's not to suggest that it isn't a bear to manage, but it is a wonderful department with incredibly talented folks. And underpinning all that they do is a real care for the environment that we're charged with protecting.
Talk about your vision for Delaware in the next 25 years. You've become the voice of clean energy. Like it or not, you are. And I think that's probably why Governor Markell chose you to come to Delaware. Talk a bit about what the state needs to do, the kind of investments it needs to make, and how you're going to get industry involved in this.
Delaware does have a proud environmental legacy. Some of the most beautiful waterways and parklands, and it really is beautiful up and down the entire state. We also have a history of contamination, and you think about areas like Delaware City and others that have kind of sad legacies of industries that were left behind. Over the next 20 years, 30 years, what I really see Delaware becoming a leader in is really focusing on the intersection of where smart environmental policy and smart economic development policy actually intersect, and they're actually the same thing. Not seeing it as a trade-off where you can have one or the other. And the first area to start in is energy. Delaware has traditionally been very heavily powered by coal. Only about half the energy used in state comes from in-state, but almost 80% of that that's generated in state comes from coal. And so over the past year and a half, we have been working closely with NRG and other corporate partners to try to reduce the amount of coal power in the state, or cleaning up existing units or switching them to cleaner sources. And so as we're cleaning up the traditional fossil fuel mix, we need to bring more renewables online. And this is where opportunities in fuel cells and great work going on at the Gore Company and at DuPont and others and at the university can actually bear fruit, and having innovations that start in Delaware, used here, and then hopefully exported around the world. Same thing in solar, same thing in offshore wind, same thing in electric vehicles. And it really is this intersection of saying we want products that are going to simultaneously grow our economy, but also achieve our environmental goals at the same time.
One of the things you manage is the coastal zone. I've heard a lot of people say that maybe it's time to go in there and make use of that land for business growth. Is that at all possible?
I think the coastal zone is a landmark piece of legislation, and obviously the coastline that's preserved because of it is probably the greatest environmental legacy of any governor in Delaware's history. I think there are opportunities to redevelop some of the existing contaminated sites. I think that the challenge is that a lot of the funding that's required to remediate sites for companies that have long gone but the pollution remains behind has come from either the state or the federal government. With our current budget situations, we don't have the resources collectively to remediate Medichem in less than 6, I think we're looking at 6 years right now. If you had private partners that were able to invest and possibly redevelop some of it, then there might be an opportunity, but you have to be very careful, because I do think that the coastal zone is one of those piece of legislation that you don't want to erode it, but at the same time, some of these kind of industrial graveyards, if you will, likely will remain that way unless we have private capital to help clean them up. And so we need to figure out how to balance those two interests.
Thank you.
You're connected with Content Delaware.